Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank all of you for coming to our gathering here tonight. Mayor Daniels, members of the City Council, Mel Holly, City Manager, Joan Devine, City Clerk, families and friends, and people that are here to be recognized tonight. I want to thank you for being here. Tonight is the first night, we'll call it the recognition night for Vergennes Police Department. One of the things I set out to do when I became the Chief of Police is to develop a professional organization, and certainly the material was here to do that. These officers are all professional. They're all dedicated to their position, all dedicated to the profession of law enforcement. But one of the other things I want to do is establish a tradition. Like the Vergennes Police Department has a very storied and well-known, a very proud tradition. Likewise, I want to have the same type of tradition here for the Vergennes Police Department. And this is the first step in accomplishing that task. So without further ado, I'm going to ask all of you, we'll start our ceremony here tonight by standing up. Mayor Daniels is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Daniels.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father Royer is our chaplain, departmental chaplain. He's going to lead us in the benediction. Remain standing, please.
Lord, we gather here this evening thankful for so many gifts, so many blessings that you share with us as individuals, as a family, and especially as a community. We thank you for those who are so generous with their time and their efforts. These officers, city council, and the community members who give so much of themselves. We ask you to watch over all of them. Continue to help them to know that it is true, that it is in giving that they received. And we ask this through Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Okay, fellas, if you remain standing, please. No, folks, you can go out and sit down. They need to stay on their feet. No. Okay, first, I'd like to introduce the members of the Vergennes Police Department. I'm going to start again with Father Royer, who's our departmental chaplain. Next is Sergeant Patrick Greenslet, Officer Jason Ouellette, Officer Brent Newton, Officer Regine LaFleche, Officer William Wager, Officer Robert Worley, and Officer Neil Mogerly. Now what I'd like you gentlemen to do is just stay standing, please. I'm going to hand these out to my officers. What I'm doing, folks, is I think it's important every once in a while for us to go back to our roots. Go back to the first day we were brought into law enforcement, and we're going to recite and renew our oath of office. So any other police officers that are here that would like to stand and renew their oath of office with us, or one that we've come up with, I'd like to have you do that. Father, there you go. If you would, fellas, please raise your right hand and repeat after Mel.
Law enforcement oath of honor. On my honor.
On my honor.
I will never betray my badge.
I will never betray my badge.
My integrity.
My integrity.
My character.
My character.
Or the public trust.
Or the public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold myself.
To have the courage to hold myself
and others accountable. For our actions. I will always uphold the Constitution. My community. And the agency I serve.
Thank you. Okay. Now, I'm going to put probably the people that are least recognized and probably most important next on the list. Fellas, I'll take those from you so you don't have to stand there and try to figure out what you're going to do with them, because I know it's a little awkward right now. Pick these up later. Okay. Father, thank you. I took the opportunity to write a letter to the members of the families, the wives and the family members, girlfriends, significant others that day in and day out see us leave, go to work, come home late at night, deal with the things that we deal with on a regular basis, And sometimes they get talked about, sometimes they don't. But nevertheless, our families are our support group. They are a major part of our job. They become part of the profession just like we do, whether they want to or not. That's part of the deal, being involved with a police officer. I'm sure I speak for every family member that they develop the same pride as we do in our uniform and the profession that we have. So what I've done is I've written a letter to each one of the family members and wives, and I'm going to read a generic letter of appreciation, so if I may. To the families of the Vergennes police officers, it is with great pride and pleasure that I present this letter of appreciation to you for the years of dedicated public service and devotion to duty that your husband and father has provided to the city of Vergennes and the Vergennes Police Department. The profession of law enforcement presents unique challenges to an officer and his family, challenges not encountered by people in other professions. The inherent danger that an officer faces each and every day he goes to work, the difficult and upsetting situations an officer encounters and the stress dealing with them, and the holidays, nights, and weekends he must be away from his home while protecting his community, all make the profession of law enforcement one that each member of an officer's family must accept, embrace, and be proud of. It is not easy to be a police officer, and it is not easy to be a family member of a police officer. However, the profession of law enforcement is one of the most honorable professions that a person can choose to pursue. It is of no small measure that you are responsible for making your police officers successful. And without your complete support and understanding, he would not be able to perform his duties. I would like to take this opportunity to extend my sincere thanks and deepest gratitude to you, and on behalf of the city of Vergennes, for the faithful service that your police officer has provided to the Vergennes Police Department. You should be proud that your police officer wears his uniform as a professional, and he serves as the guardian of what is right in the community that he serves. Thank you, and God bless. Keto says thank you too. One of the other parts of having a tradition is acknowledging a police officer when they reach a certain level in their profession. Each department is different, but what we've chose to do is recognize police officers that have reached a milestone in their career. One that they're not just out of the academy, but they've spent a designated time on the road and have established that level of experience that they should be acknowledged. It's something that the service does. It's called Wedding of the Stripes. And the same thing is here, that we're going to present chevrons to the officers that have reached these milestones. So in order to do that tonight, I'm going to present two bundles of chevrons. And I'm going to present one just as each officer that has earned one. Officer Jason Ouellette for 4 years of service to the Vergennes Police Department, and Officer William Wager for 6 years of service to the police department. Likewise, Officer Wager has also earned the right to wear the service stripe. Officer Wager. That is for 5 years of service. 5 years of service earns the right to wear one of those stripes. What I'd like to do now is to have each one of the officers, once I give these to you, the blue rose is symbolic of law enforcement and a memorial to those officers that have given their lives, but it's also, rose is a symbol of love, but it's also a symbol of appreciation and respect. I'm going to ask each one of you who has a significant other or wife here with you tonight, and even if you don't, make sure this gets to them. Officers, if you'd like to go give those to your family members that appreciate it, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking at you.
be a little time consuming if we did that one at a time, so. Okay, the next item on the agenda is I'd like to present certificates of appreciation to those people over the last year that have done an outstanding job in supporting not only myself, but the Vergennes Police Department and the City of Vergennes. One of the great things about Addison County is we have a tremendous brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever the case may be, whatever gender you want to use, that when the chips are down and people need one another, we all work together. And that's what it's all about. Because we're such a small community, it's of vital importance that we have a good working relationship, that we take care of one another and watch each other's backs. When I'm in trouble on the side of the road and I'm looking for help, I don't care what color uniform, what color cruiser it is, as long as they get there, and they get there fast. And across the board in Addison County, we are blessed with professional, first-rate police officers that are dedicated to the profession of law enforcement. But there's some people that have taken that next step even higher to help us out, to help us reach a next level of professionalism, to get started, to procure equipment, for training, taking care of us from top to bottom. And what I'd like to do tonight is I'd like to recognize those people. So if I may start. Is Carolyn Swinton here tonight? Okay. This gentleman, since he's come to Addison County to serve as our state's attorney, has done a remarkable job, not only in his office and his position as state's attorney, but also a trainer for the Vergennes Police Department. At any point in time, throughout the week, on the weekend, any hours of the night, State's Attorney Dave Fenster is always available to us. Sometimes, I'm sure when he looks at his phone, he sees 343-5010 on there, he's saying, oh no, what have they gotten into now? Or doesn't he know any other phone number besides mine? But what I'd like to do is I'd like to recognize State's Attorney Dave Fenster for his dedication to duty and his assistance to Vergennes Police Department. So, Vergennes Police Department, this certificate of appreciation is awarded to Addison County State's Attorney David Fenster. The Vergennes Police Department would like to recognize Addison County State's Attorney David Fenster and his staff for their superlative support in providing legal guidance, assistance, and professional training support on criminal and juvenile law to the Vergennes Police Department during the year of 2010. Their spirit of cooperation and willingness to assist have enhanced the tremendous working relationship that has benefited the criminal justice system of Addison County and the Vergennes Police Department, and has been directly responsible for improving the operational effectiveness of the Vergennes Police Department. State's Attorney Fenster's superior leadership style and his staff's spirit of teamwork and dedication to duty are tributes to themselves, their agency, and the criminal justice system of the state of Vermont. State's Attorney Fenster. Pleasure. Thanks, Pat. Next person I would like to recognize is another one of the commanders of law enforcement agencies in the Addison County area. Vergennes Police Department would like to recognize and would like to present a certificate of appreciation to Lieutenant Gary Geneva of the New Haven Barracks, Vermont State Police. The Vergennes Police Department would like to recognize Lieutenant Gary Geneva and the men and women of the Vermont State Police New Haven Barracks for the professionalism and tremendous support during the year of 2010. On many occasions, the troopers under Lieutenant Geneva's supervision assisted the Vergennes Police Department with the conduct of investigations and provided backup support during potentially dangerous responses to calls for service. The spirit of cooperation has come to be mutually accepted between both departments as the way we do business in Addison County. It is reciprocal between our two agencies and exists in no small part as a result of the leadership of Lieutenant Geneva. Lieutenant Geneva's superlative leadership style and the professionalism of his troopers are tributes to the law enforcement community of Vermont and the Vermont State Police. Lieutenant Geneva. Another commander of a law enforcement agency that is probably as well known as anybody in this county is Sheriff James Coons of the Addison County Sheriff's Department. The Vergennes Police Department would like to award a certificate of appreciation to Sheriff James Coons The Vergennes Police Department would like to recognize Sheriff Coons of the Addison County Sheriff's Department and his deputies for their professionalism and spirit of cooperation in the support of the Vergennes Police Department during the year of 2010. Sheriff Coons' department's willingness to assist the Vergennes Police Department with logistical support, equipment acquisition, manpower, and training support has improved our operational preparedness immeasurably. Sheriff Coons and his department's professionalism, teamwork, and dedication to duty are a tribute to themselves, the Addison County Sheriff's Department, and the state of Vermont law enforcement community. Sheriff Coons.
Can we get you guys?
Oh, I'm sorry, come on.
Can you just, like that, it'll be a lot better. Instead of back of heads.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another member of the Addison County Sheriff's Department we'd like to recognize tonight, again, is probably a very familiar face to all of you, and that's First Sergeant Donald Keeler. Vergennes Police Department would like to present a certificate of appreciation to First Sergeant Donald Keeler. We'd like to recognize First Sergeant Donald Keeler of the Addison County Sheriff's Department for his superlative instruction in marksmanship training during the year of 2010. His in-depth knowledge of marksmanship training and innovative instructional methodology benefited the Vergennes Police Department immeasurably in terms of use of force and officer protection preparedness. First Sergeant Keeler's dedication to duty, professionalism, and his willingness to share his tremendous knowledge of firearms training are a tribute to himself, his profession, and the Addison County Sheriff's Department. First Sergeant Keeler.
Thank you.
Peter, what's the matter with you? Okay, another member of the Addison County Sheriff's Department we'd like to recognize is Deputy Oscar Gardner. We'd like to present the certificate of appreciation to Deputy Gardner for his extremely professional instruction in marksmanship training during the year of 2010. His in-depth knowledge and innovative approach to training were keys to the improvement of the Vergennes Police Department level of preparedness involving the use of force and officer protection. Deputy Gardner's dedication to duty and hard work are a tribute to himself, his professionalism, and the Addison County Sheriff's Department. Deputy Gardner. Keith. And last but certainly not least is a guy that keeps me out of more trouble, and he like State's Attorney Fenster probably cringes every time he sees 3435010 come up. It means that I have somehow screwed up a computer once again. I am technologically challenged, and that's being quite gracious. But what I'd like to do tonight, on behalf of the Vergennes Police Department, is present a certificate of appreciation to computer specialist Michael Fort. We'd like to recognize Mike Fort for his superlative support, hard work, dedication to duty, and I have to say patience, that wasn't written in there, as the Vergennes Police Department Information and Technology Technician. His exemplary and tireless efforts and in-depth knowledge of computer technology has enabled our department to provide timely and professional services to the citizens of Vergennes. The Vergennes Police Department, as are all police agencies, heavily dependent on timely access to the various law enforcement information networks. And when a problem arose, Mike Fort responded quickly and efficiently, fixing the problems. Mike Fort's professionalism and in-depth knowledge are a credit to himself, his profession, and the business of Fort Computer Services. Mike Fort.
Let me do it one more time.
Okay. Anybody else with a camera?
Yeah, we got it. It's
Okay.
working. But
All right.
I don't know how faces are gonna come out.
That's fine, that's fine. And I see Chuck is not here tonight, but we'd also like to recognize Chuck Welch. Steve, I'm gonna ask you to come forward and take this, accept this for Chuck. We'd like to present a certificate of appreciation to Chuck Welch, Vergennes Area Rescue Squad. We'd like to recognize Chuck Welch for the superlative and professional instruction of first aid and CPR provided to the Vergennes Police Department during the year of 2010. The relationship that has developed between the Vergennes Police Department And the Vergennes Area Rescue Squad serves well for the citizens of Vergennes, as each department is mutually supportive on so many different calls. And both are dedicated to the safety of the citizens they serve. Chuck Welch's in-depth knowledge and instructional techniques are a tribute to himself, the Vergennes Area Rescue Squad, and the profession of emergency medical services. Steve?
Thank you, sir.
All right. And certainly, last but not least, we talk about family, we talk about people being very patient, we talk about the time they put in, the sacrifices they make, and I would be very remiss, and Gary, I'm gonna ask you to take keto for me if you would, please. Since we started work here together as an agency, my wife has done tremendous work for us, provided tremendous services in the field of culinary services. Okay, on 2 separate occasions now on New Year's Eve, my wife has made lasagna, provided all the food and whatnot, and we've gotten together, and what it's allowed us to do is not only the Vergennes Police Department, but the State Police, Bristol Police Department, and other agencies have gotten together and we sat down and broke bread. And you know as well as I, that sometimes you can have the most well-planned out meetings, but most of the work gets done over a cup of coffee or just something to eat. And food seems to be a universal concern and interest of police officers. So like I say, not only on New Year's Eve, but many other times, my wife, most of the time on a short notice, has been asked to provide food for us. And once again, tonight she's done that, and I'm sure she won't let you down with her extraordinary ability. So what I'd like to do is, as a department and as her husband and second in command in our household, I'd like to recognize Patricia Merkel for the outstanding culinary support she's provided the Vergennes Police Department and the law enforcement community of Addison County during the year of 2010. Her superlative meals and selfless efforts have enabled officers to perform their duties with a cheerful disposition and a smile on their faces after consuming a meal provided by her during various multi-agency law enforcement details. Her efforts have also contributed greatly to the spirit of cooperation between agencies and help foster the brotherhood of officers that we strive to maintain. We wish to thank you for your hard work. Okay. And if I can read that last one, Pat, just that, there you go. There you go. Thank you. What I'd like to do, even though Carolyn is not here tonight, I'd like to read this on her behalf. If you don't know Carolyn Swinton, Carolyn does a cleanup after all of us work in our office. And Carolyn is a remarkable lady, patience of a saint, and quiet as a church mouse. She's a wonderful lady, and I'd like to recognize her tonight, even though she may not be here. We'd like to recognize Carolyn Swinton for her untiring support and professional maintenance services that she provided during the year of 2010. Each and every officer of this department expresses appreciation for her hard work and dedication to duty in maintaining our police station in a neat, professional manner. We wish to thank you for your continuous diligence and dedication to duty. Carolyn Swinton. Okay, the other thing I'd like to do, folks, and kind of got off track a little bit, again, as a tradition, I'd like to take a moment to recognize and a moment of silence for the police officers, not only this year, but the police officers in the past that have given their lives in performance of their duties. They keep our communities safe. They make sacrifices that most only police officers know about, and they keep a lot of things to themselves that most of us don't have to deal with. That's a decision we made when we raised our right hand to become police officers. And if you ask any one of these officers, they say they would not hesitate for a moment to make that same decision again. So if you would, I would like to ask you to stand for a second. And I'd like to ask you to bow your head and just take a moment to say a prayer for those officers. Thank you. Mel, I forgot one.
That's okay.
Mel Hawley, City Manager, has a,
George talked about letters of appreciation to family members. And there was one that I actually wanted to give myself, because I actually don't have any clue how she puts up with George, to be honest with you. I mean, this guy just works absolutely tirelessly, day after day after day after day. And former chief of police Ted Manal was down today, and we always talk about George, and we talk about the need for George to settle in, settle in, figure out the priorities. You don't need to do everything today. I can't get to him. He just really is just unbelievably driven. Obviously a lot ended up on George's plate when he came here. And if you just think back of where we've been, and as George mentioned about the Vergennes Fire Department, sorry, Bill, but we have the best volunteer fire department in the state of Vermont. there is a close second, right? But we do have the best, and obviously, I can tell you, it was about a year ago, we competed, the Vergennes Police Department competed for an award, and George had actually only been here a short few months, applied for this award. I know Patrick helped in putting it together. George came back to Vergennes, and I never seen a guy so mad in all my life. Came in second, all right? He does not tolerate coming in second, as you know, Patty. So, again, I really don't know how you put up with it. Joan and I, we see it every day. The guy just works tirelessly. So, really, it's kudos to you, Patty, for putting up with George. Thanks a lot.
And in closing, I'd like to give credit where credit's due. Sergeant Greenslip, with his computer expertise, the experience that he has, it's not the first time he's done that, did an outstanding job with that, and that was no reflection coming in second place on Sergeant Greenslip, because without Sergeant Greenslip, we wouldn't even had a submission, okay? Again, I'm challenged by the computer, so Sergeant Greenslip did all that yeoman work. But Sergeant Greenslip put that together, and it was easy for him to put that together. It's easy for me to stand up here and talk about how great my police officers are because of the performance that they've given me over this past year. Like you said, we've been through some tough times, but these guys all shouldered the burden. They look forward. They're dedicated to their job. When we had this recent rash of burglaries, which we came out on the winning side of, each and every officer here threw his shoulders into the harness and did their job and brought it to the proper conclusion. I am so proud of these guys, I can't tell you. And we've come a long ways, but we've got a long ways to go. And no, I do not settle for second place any more than I do not wearing this hat. That was the first decision we made. And we're going to wear this hat as a symbol of our department. Professionalism starts at the top, and that means the headgear also. So needless to say, we're all here tonight. From top to bottom, these guys are professionals. I'm very proud to have them here. I'm very thankful to have all you guys here tonight to recognize us, and thank you for your unending support. Thank you very much. Now, hopefully,
Okay, if everybody will get seated, we will get started. Chris, you're here for the meeting? Yeah. Grab your seat and come up in the back, please. We don't want you with our back to you, please.
You have to use your official voice.
I got a head thing going.
That's what I had Monday.
I'm gonna just move this off the page.
Yeah, sorry.
Part of this.
Nope, no, we're deferring that drug thing till the next month. So we got enough on our plate.
Call this meeting to order. All rise for the national pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First off, I'd like to give special recognition to Chief George Merkel for the fine job in the presentations of awards that he did tonight. Outstanding, and we've talked, and he plans on doing this for many years to come. Okay, we're going to go right to item number 3, visitors. Bill Benton. Bill, turn it over to you.
I'm here working with Boys and Girls Club. We talked 2 weeks ago about the piece of land out off Native Road. We talked to Mel after the meeting. He indicated there was discussion about the city potentially wanting to keep part of that land, which I totally understand. And in further talks with Mel and so on, and in our board, we are still interested. We would love just to be able to carve out a small piece of it, potentially share some costs and so on in development. If it's something the city could use a piece of that in the future, it makes a lot of sense. I've brought to the council here just our 2010 club overview for those members that know nothing about the Boys and Girls Club. And it's really an overview of the kids we serve and the programs and a summary of the budget and so on. I think what we want to do is just let you know that we are here to serve the community. We think we're an asset to the community. We would love to be able to acquire a piece of that property to build a facility. If it's with the police department or whatever, it could be a great partnership. And I guess the next step in my mind anyway would be to perhaps talk with Mel or a committee in terms of what's the next step, engineering, surveying, incurring costs. We don't have a lot of extra cash around, but I think we need to figure out how this would proceed in terms of initial expenditures and then a purchase price. We just want to know that as we move along that we are in step and that we can still be a partner in this.
Okay, very good. Mel, you have any other comments you want to add to that?
Yeah, I obviously at the last meeting there was some discussion on the board about whether or not this site might lend itself to a potential new police station, possible municipal building down the road. And I have spent a little bit of time with George, and obviously there were, in the past, the city council or a subcommittee of the city council has looked at, the police facility, and it's not as though, we need to do something immediately, but, it certainly is a substandard, the current home, if you will, of Vergennes Police Department, I'm gonna say is substandard. So, I think that at an absolute minimum, if it is agreed that this piece of land lends itself to being a suitable site for a future location of the Vergennes Police Department, that's really the first thing that we need to do, all right? And it's nothing against the Boys and Girls Club, but, to me, we need to look out for ourselves first to see, what does the site accommodate. So, I guess at this point, George and I feel that we should, at least in a preliminary fashion, take a little closer look at the site and see, what the needs are, for a police department. Frankly, there certainly are some efficiencies to having police and administration in the same building. The city plan calls for the need to, take a look at infrastructure in police in particular. So that really needs to be done. I can tell you, right from the outset, I really have a bias for administration. I like being in the center of the central business district, within walking distance to the post office. I think it's easier for folks to come and pay their bills. So, I'm all for doing studies, but I can just tell you right out of the gate, I like the location of City Hall relative to administration. But we do feel that this site is a good site for a police department, access to New Haven Road. But again, I think the next step is to get a little better handle on, how much area would be needed for the police department. And, I don't know that we need to, spend a lot of money at this point. There's been police stations built all over the country, for small departments. We just need to do some preliminary work and bring that, back to you. And then you could, kind of assess that situation. But I think we need to, if it's the council's feeling that we should investigate this as a future home for the police department, then that's the next step that we need to do. And then come back, and whether or not there's a majority of this board that, if there is any remaining land, then the board could discuss that remaining land. But the first decision is about the police department.
Ziggy?
I talked to 3 different gentlemen's firemen that had talked to me, and they were talking about the big truck coming in, and now they hear that, like, there's noise, the crack in the floor, it's like they can hear, like, that when they drive the big truck on, that there's a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was just listening to that, but anyways, great, we have a fire station here, but, maybe down the road, we're gonna have to move this. If possible, if we do, that would be another spot to have the firemen out there also. I'm just thinking ahead, because we don't have much land here, as a group, because I know, and before, when you get these bigger trucks now, you had to raise the doors. They told me the doors had to be raised.
Yep.
So.
We'd love to buy this building.
Would you?
Boys and Girls Club, sure, it'd be great.
Everything
we wanted, probably.
I just brought it up because they approached me.
Did you talk to officers or to members?
I think 2 of them were officers. Okay.
That discussion should be really coming from the fire chief.
Right, well, I'm
So,
just saying, they,
yep.
they approached me, and I said, well, I didn't think of that, so I'm giving it to you.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess then I would ask, with the council agreeing to this, is to give Mel the go-ahead to do any investigation that he needs to do with all the city departments, whether it be public works, police, and find out what their needs are. So if we're gonna look at one, we should look at all.
Right.
So, and of course, work closely with Joan to see what her feelings are as far as if she has needs from the clerk's office. So, would council agree with that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then we'll move forward on that one. And we will take and try to, what do you look at, Mel, as far as a time frame that you would need to feel? Are you looking at a month, 2 months?
I don't think I'm looking at some, creating some 40-page document here. I think we're just basically doing a real brief assessment on each department. I would think that, within, certainly within a couple months, maybe even sooner.
Okay.
Just doing a memo on the status of existing facilities.
Okay. Okay. And again, that may even open up some other doors, so to speak, no pun intended, for the Boys and Girls Club if several departments were to go in one location.
We would just like, an efficient, modern, good home for the club.
Yep.
And there probably are lots of options. So we're just trying to pursue what we can, and once we can lock onto something, then we can do some capital, fundraising and so on. But obviously, we can't do that until we get to a certain point. So.
Understood. So, very good. Any other further discussion or questions from the council to Bill or to Mel on the subject? Hearing none, then Bill, thank you very much for coming and sharing that information, and we will notify you well in advance, and so that we can have you back.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Okay, we're going to move to warrants. Those have been circulated and all signed, I take it? No questions on those?
It was a real short list, Mike, of bills, so.
Review of budget, Mel?
I have done a review of the budget, and, the revenue picture is very, very good. Obviously, that said, it's very much dependent on good tax collections, which, fortunately, certainly have been good in years past. Obviously, in looking at the Public Works Department, this is a far different winter than we experienced a year ago. And I think, when I look at, salt and sand materials, overtime, fuel, I feel that the Public Works budget is in pretty good shape. Obviously, there's more storms on the way, but one of the things that's clear is that we didn't make a mistake in budgeting. Many times when you have an easy year, you think that's the norm and that's what you base your budget on. And we've always never looked back at the immediate past year. You want to be looking back at the worst years and make sure that we're, in essence, budgeting for the worst. We don't want to necessarily overtax people and feel the sky is falling. But anyway, that budget does appear to be just fine. Sewer appears to be fine. I actually did a little calculation the other day, and I've reported on this before. The way that we bill for sewer as it relates to Northland's Job Corps, it generated a little over $30,000 in extra money in calendar year 2010, and obviously that's what's contributed to the strong position in the strong fund balance in the sewer. Police, I don't have a new story for you. Police continues to be a concern about labor. You look at that budget, there's a number of items that are in a little bit of trouble. But, some of the problems, I've mentioned this in the past, holidays end up being expensive for us. We have to pay the regular guys for the holiday, pay them time and a half when they work the holiday, pay a special double time when they work the holiday. So those numbers add up when they really aren't buying, and I'm not crying about this, I'm just giving you the reality of the picture is that when holidays come up, we still need police coverage, and you pay a premium when that occurs. So a lot of it is there. The other thing is, I put I'm sure some of you read the Burlington Free Press today about the success of the police department. You heard that a little earlier about arresting somebody involved with the 6 burglaries. I can tell you, the last few weeks, payroll has been up. Every time Joan brings the timesheets in, that's what she says, a lot of overtime in there, Mel. Well, when you have 6 burglaries in your community, you really have to take your eyes off the checkbook. You really do. I mean, it's not the way I typically, run the place, but, that's not the time to cut back on coverage when there's that kind of an outbreak of crime in the community. So, those burglaries they cost the city a lot. They cost citizens a lot. People lost a lot of property. It's not like everything was recovered. So again, it's relative to the police budget. I guess the best way for me to say it is we're in damage control at this point. We just need to. We know that probably that budget is likely to go over. It's about making sure that it doesn't go over excessively, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that budget is fine, because that's just not the case. So all in all, obviously, last fiscal year, we ended the year with a general fund balance of $229,000. I think that's a record, all right? And I'd love to take credit, but I can't take credit for the weather. Obviously, we used, I think, $125,000 of that $229,000 to do some paving and to keep the tax rate stable. So there is a pretty healthy cushion sitting back there, but obviously that cushion, there's no intent to burn through that cushion. The intent is to hold on to those dollars so that it's available to us. We're not going to see $229,000 again, I can assure you that, but we certainly would want to see as much of that, the difference between what we use, the 125 and the 229. We would love to be able to have that at the end of the year, and so that's what our focus is. If we're kind of looking at this thing from 30,000 square feet, or feet above the ground, would be to come in with a good surplus again, which obviously helps us keep the tax rate stable in the future.
Any questions of Mel on the budget?
One other item I wanted to talk about, because I forgot about this last time. When you look at the swimming pool budget, the Fishman family continued with its contribution to the pool. The check was made payable to the Vergennes swimming pool. It went to my sister-in-law, and she gave it to us. And I sent what I felt was a nice letter to the Fishman family to explain to them what had gone on. That the Vergennes graded school district had dissolved and the pool had transferred to the city, and explain in the letter about, that the $2,000 that they gave and have historically been given, really helps keep that pool affordable for our residents. So we certainly hope that that will continue. I did mention in the letter about losing our pump, and hopefully they realize that that the pool is being well run. We could use that budget support in the future. So anyway, I just wanted to report on that. So like I say, I sent them a thank you note.
Okay. No other questions on that? I'd ask for a motion to approve the Vergennes City Council meeting for January 11th.
Make said motion.
I have a motion. Chris second it. Open for corrections, omissions, or errors. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. At this time, we would normally go right to public comment, but I have a comment first. I have to set a ground rule that if any of the public is here to talk on behalf of the special warning meeting, we are not accepting discussion on that from the public, and Mel will explain what it's all about when we get down to that point on our agenda. So, any public comment at all? Other than some people might be upset with me? Okay? Okay? You'll understand when we get there, okay? Don't want to waste time.
One quick thing, I don't know if you mentioned this later, but we talked last time about the Economic Development Committee, and I had mentioned that the Planning Commission was going to try to come up with some sort of scaled down version. The entire commission, with the exception of me, felt that we don't need to do that. So what their suggestion was that there just be a presence from the Planning Commission on the Vergennes partnership, regularly attending meetings, to make sure that things continue to move in the positive direction that they're moving in. And should it seem like things are scaling back again, at that time they would talk about forming a committee. So I just wanted to let you know that that was the decision of the Planning Commission, if that's amenable to all of you.
Yeah, good. Stacy, right?
Stacy.
Stacy, obviously, she's the vice chair of the Planning Commission.
Right.
She's become actively involved in the partnership, so she's that connection.
Although she was
Right.
concerned about being able to attend morning meetings, but I think Jason Farrell was also trying to attend meetings, so there should be coverage between the two of them. So
I'm also on board.
right. So
I know Neil just landed, and we're just closing public comment, and I'm not accepting public comment on that special meeting warned for the unification, and you will see why when we get down into that part. Okay? So bear with me, please. We skipped over committees. Anybody have anything to report? Joe, you want to do yours now?
I can. At the last meeting, I volunteered to lead and recruit people for a recreation committee, and I'm happy to report that everyone asked accepted, at least provisionally, depending on how busy the meeting's going to be, and that would include Doug Todd, Christine Bradford, Tara Brooks, and Jen Johnson. And it's basically everyone has agreed to serve. At this point, I just wanted to bring the names up, then we're going to start the process to get things organized.
I'd ask for a motion to appoint those individuals to the Recreation Committee.
I made the motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Ziggy, seconded by Randy. Open for discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We graciously thank those that are going to serve us. Any other committees? Hearing none, we're going to move along to old business. Drug paraphernalia, we deferred that to February. Need some time to do some work there. We've taken care of item number B already. And appointment of energy, we're deferring that. Creating the Conservation Commission, we're deferring that. And we've already addressed the Boys and Girls Club.
Mike, let me
Right along, you get some.
Yeah, I just want to just report one other thing. At the last meeting, the board authorized me to go ahead and meet, if you will, the school relative to the easement. I brought down an aerial photo for folks to get a little, I've already shown this to Bill, so it's not new news to him, but the wider white line here, all of the sewer from the shopping center, Meadow Lane, Crescent Drive, American Legion flows down through into a trunk line that runs through the valley, if you will, here. Picks up the Union High School, comes to a manhole here, and then carries on through the Brinkman property, and then continues from there. New Haven Road, it runs in the street, picks up into this line. This manhole is actually located on Vergennes Union Elementary School property, as I mentioned to you at the last meeting. And so to get to the 8.13 acres, there needs to be an easement over this piece of land that got transferred to the high school, and then an easement over a very, very short section of land of the Vergennes Union Elementary School. And I met with Tom O'Brien last week, and he said that they would get the city on the agenda to both the Vergennes Union Elementary School and the high school at their February meeting. So I'll do a brief presentation at that meeting, and
Let me know what the dates are.
okay, yep,
I will try to attend with you.
February 23rd.
there's one of them.
What is it, February 23rd?
23rd.
So Feb 16 would be for the high school.
We're meeting early that night because it's
16.
against our annual meeting.
16 high school and Union.
At the elementary school, it's the 23rd at 5:30 in an
Okay.
earlier time because it's going to, the annual meeting will follow that.
Okay,
So it's
I know I can't, I will
shorter.
not make the 16th, but
Well, let me clarify that. Second Monday is our standard.
It's the 8th. Oh,
Second.
no, excuse me, the 7th.
second
wait a
Monday
minute,
would
no,
be
Second
no,
Monday, right, so I,
it's 14th.
It's 14th. You
Right.
won't make that one.
I can't make that. So I may end up having to, either somebody else will need to go in my place, Neil, or it would have to go in March. But I think that,
Is that something Alex could represent you on, or?
yeah, it's a pretty simple, just somebody needs to bring the map, get it there. It should.
I will attempt to go too.
Okay,
So February
yeah.
14th, what time, I'm sorry?
6 o'clock for this
It's actually the 15th.
one. Monday.
It is Monday, I'm sorry, okay.
14th. There you go.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, we're gonna jump into Mel's report.
Yeah, I got this free, one of the things, when I get my hands on one of these checks, I always want to show people. If you recall, it was about a year ago, received a check for $500,000, couldn't cash it relative to the senior housing project. And that check is still sitting up in my office. It's actually, it's more than 6 months old, so I know I can't cash that one any longer. But anyway, this is the, I mentioned to the board about the John Graham shelter. This is a project that we teamed up with them to renovate that facility. I'm certainly excited about the project. It'd be nice if this was a loan like the Housing Vermont senior housing is. This is not a loan. This is an outright grant to them. As I mentioned before, and they have already enhanced this grant by, I think it's either $25,000 or $30,000 to cover the administration contract with Meg Pond. And then this, once we find out what the relocation budget's going to be for the building manager and her family, that grant will be increased as well. So this $327,000 is going to turn into something, $450 or whatever for that project. The other thing I mentioned to you at the last meeting is about how we actually have been stacking up our appeals on our equalized grand list. I won't bore you with all the math, but it's a number that drives the homestead rate and the non-residential rate in Vergennes. And I have a appeal in for 2009 and a hearing on that on, I think, March 5th. So obviously it's 2 years old before we ever can get this settled. I also put an appeal on the 2010 and had a meeting scheduled for this Friday, and I was going to say they've already caved. They actually, so I won't use those words. They've already agreed that I was right, and I'm not meeting with them on Friday. They're just going to adjust our number. It was the way that I don't know what they were thinking of, but it dealt with the electric utilities, and it was a case where they had, in essence, demanded that we put the utilities in at 99.2%. I wanted to put them in at 100% because we had an appeal. And they sent me a letter that basically said that we must put them in at the 99.2% factor. And then when I got the equalized grand list for January 1, the number was 97.16, which in essence inflates the value of the public utilities, all right? And so, that's just not fair, all right? For them to say you need to assess them at 99.2, all right, and set the tax rate accordingly, and then to turn around and say, well, actually, your assessments are only 97%, the value of that utility is this, and what it does is it inflates everybody's tax rate by a little bit. But if it's a little bit, I don't care. People in Vergennes shouldn't be overtaxed because of somebody dictating this number, the tax department dictating this number and giving us another. So anyway, they've already made that adjustment. So our CLA, for those of you that live in this world, last year our CLA was 99.2. So what that means is that the state rate, when they set it, it actually gets inflated for us because they feel that our assessments are in at 99, less than 100%, 99.2. Our new equalized grand list number, I think, Joan, is 101 point something or 100.8 something. It's something like that. So it's over 100%, which for us is actually a good thing, because what that's going to do is it's actually going to drive the homestead rate and the non-residential rate down. All right, so it's all about per pupil spending at the end of the day. But anyway, to me that's good news, because in the past, when your CLA goes down, even if your per pupil costs stay the same, everybody's tax bill goes up. So we've got it going the other way for this coming year. The other thing I just wanted to report to everyone is that Joan just loves this project. The sprinkler project has started at City Hall. You can't see it at this point because the work is starting down in the furnace room, if you will. That's where the 6-inch line comes into the building. But within the next few weeks, there's going to be disturbance, if you will. And I'm leaving I've actually told them I'm going on vacation here in February, and so that's when they should be doing my office. Joan's just gonna leave when they go to the clerk's office. She's just not coming to work. Yeah, well, actually, we have told folks, there's some periods of time that we just can't work around. So, anyway, and apparently it's not as bad as I end up thinking. You know, I'm just thinking, oh my God, they're gonna take down all the suspended ceiling and dust, 38 years of dust and bugs is just going everywhere. And apparently I think it is gonna be a little bad, but it's not as bad as we once suspected, so, all right. So anyway, that's in the works, which obviously, I mean, it's good for us. We're gonna save some money on our, on our insurance bill, whether or not it's immediate or whether or not we get a discount in 2012. But certainly the main reason for this project is so that the Opera House can get a much higher occupancy permit. Right now they're, for a so-called nightclub event, with alcohol, dancing, and dim lights, it's 100. I mean, that's all that they can have up there, and the facility obviously can accommodate 300. And so with this sprinkler system, they'll be able to return to being able to have events, in those numbers, 250, 300, whatever the permit is. I don't know if it's 300 or 350, but certainly a heck of a lot more than 100. So I know they're looking forward to getting this project behind them so that they can have their occupancy increase. That's all I had, Mike.
I did hear from one resident about the sewer billing, Joan. They thought to have the sewer billing 4 times a year was great. They just said that they really needed that noticed every time because otherwise they'd forget. So that was the one shortfall. I says, well, that would be kind of expensive on the mailing, on the postage. But if we were to, again, bill, I know it's more work for you guys, but if we were build that postage charge into the sewer, if that would help offset, so it wouldn't be it would be additional labor of sending it out, but it would, as long as they paid for that extra postage, then.
It shouldn't be any harder to remember. I gotta remember to pay my taxes, sewers do it at the same time, every single quarter.
That person said,
The same time as our tax bill.
that person says that's why she pays her taxes all at once.
Well, one of the things.
Good, she'll pay her sewer all at
No, she said she'd rather spread that out.
Well, one of the things, and we'll come back, we'll come back, certainly in advance of April 15th is the next scheduled billing. One of the things that, we are spending more money in postage, not just because of the rates, but, the grace period that we adopted, all right, where they have 15 days, one of the things that we've done is, we send a bill. We send us what's called a reminder bill, so, we can probably calculate what the additional cost is, and, there is a cost attached to that, and sometimes we just have to forget about it, and remember that we're in the business of collecting sewer. We're not in the business of collecting penalty, and you mentioned that, but there really are a lot of people that when we send their tax bill, it's like a race. We think there's a race. There's people that come up and pay it for the year. So it's very possible that it's possible that you could save money by those people that came up and paid their bill for the year. But it's not a ton. We'd have to analyze it. I will tell you that when I spoke at Rotary and brought this up, they all thought it was a good idea to have quarterly billing for sewer. It is a big bill, but they wanted it to be on the off month. I think, Randy, you may have even brought that up at the last meeting. And I will tell you that, if somebody got their bill and came up here and paid it, there's your off month. If they can pay it right then and there, because they're the ones that hold on to the bill for 30 days and complain that they've got taxes, water, and sewer all to pay at the same time. Well, if they got the bill and sent a check, that's out of the way. So, we think the efficiencies really are about having it absolutely parallel our tax bill. Because I can tell you, there was a time where people would try to, they want to pay their sewer we bill every 6 months, and people every 3 months would come up and, like a bill is not due in February. Sometimes they used to send us a check because they thought they lost the bill. Right? So it's easier for them, from a remembering standpoint to do it. But again, we'll come up with a proposal for you to look at in a couple of months.
Thank you. Any other things to report, Mel?
No.
Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to new business. 2011 annual city meeting warning.
Yeah, maybe I should talk just a little bit, Mike, about, I sent everybody out, everybody has a revised agenda for the meeting, and that was because relative to the handling of the unification, I think the original agenda notes that I said, I made reference to that warning being rolled into our typical annual city meeting warning. And in going through and kind of looking at it, it really does not belong on that same warning. And the reason why it doesn't belong on the same warning is that the annual city meeting warning is driven by our charter. And our charter states that our annual meeting is on the first Tuesday in March for items that are voted on by Australian ballot, and other items are handled at 7:30 the day before, like when we have our annual meeting on Monday, all right? The unification warning is really a special meeting. If it was held in August or October or whenever, it really is a special meeting. And there is no 7:30 component to that meeting. It's a standalone meeting. And so therefore, it needs to be on a separate ballot. And no different, Mike, as in the past, and even this year. I mean, the schools have, they have their warnings out there. The school has their budgets out there, and typically, the night before town meeting, we go through the annual city meeting warning, and then the mayor shows everyone the various ballots that the public's going to see the next day. And that's what this one really is about. So the unified warning has nothing to do with February 28th, other than showing people the ballot that they're going to see the next day. So the first item on your agenda is just to deal with, what we'll call the normal annual city meeting warning. And Joan can...
I have the originals.
Joan can talk about, those items that came in by petition. There is one or two tax exempt matters in there too, Joan. So maybe you can go over things that are different in this year's warning than would be in other years.
Article 2 and Article 3 were petitioned articles for tax exemption for a 5-year period. One petition was from the Vergennes Rescue Squad, and the others is the Vergennes Masonic. Both of their exemptions expire this year, and to continue, they have to petition the voters, and the voters have to approve it, and it's for a 5-year period. So those are both new this year. The remaining are either petitioned articles or letters of request, because they've been approved in the past for 3 continuous years. So it's pretty much just our regular one, our regular warning. Our officers are listed under Article 1, and it does include the 4 directors to the proposed unified school district. So it's pretty much what we usually do, other than the tax exemptions are on this year again.
Does any of the council have questions of Joan on that particular warning? If not, I will give you forewarning. I'm going to do like I did last year. I'm going to have each group or each person read a certain number of the articles. Joan's going to send that to me as a Word document. I'm going to use our seating plan as we sit here at this table, and I will send you a kind of a script so you'll know what the person ahead of you is reading and what the person after you is reading. So you'll get a full warning, but it's going to go. Lowell's going to get certain, I'll do the first so many, and then it'll go to Lowell, Joe, Ziggy, Randy, David, Chris. Okay? So that's I'm gonna do that ahead of time, so if anybody wants a little time to practice their portion, they'll have the opportunity to do that. Okay, this is that warning, and we need everybody's signature on it. Do we need a motion?
Yeah, we do need
I'd
a
ask a
motion.
motion that, have a motion from Lowell to approve the warning. Second? Chris? Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Now, next item, item number B, special meeting warning. As Mel said, this has to be treated separately.
Yeah, there's been a lot of communication between me and Joan, Tom O'Brien, the superintendent of schools. Obviously, Vergennes has had an incorporated school district going back to whenever. Obviously the Vergennes graded school district, the voters approved its discontinuance. Although there wasn't a date attached to that discontinuance, I know they've stopped meeting. I think they've turned in the checkbook, and that group has indeed officially discontinued. And there's statutes that make reference to the fact that when an incorporated school district ceases to exist, those functions go to the union district. And I can tell you that some of the laws involved with this, certainly could be written a little bit better, because I think the law didn't contemplate a situation like the city of Vergennes, because in our instance, when the Vergennes graded school district dissolved and its responsibilities go to the union district, we're a member of two union districts, the Union Elementary District and the Union High School District. So it's a little bit unclear. However, there's another statute very, very much connected to unified union school districts, and been emailing Mark Ottinger, who is the legal counsel for the Department of Ed. I actually spoke to Armando on the phone last week trying to sort this out, and I think that it's a relatively new statute, and so sometimes the statutes don't all line up together. And I made a copy of an email that came down from Mark, which basically says if the proposed union school district is to be a unified union school district, however, only town districts and incorporated districts may participate in the joint study and vote on its formation. He says emphasis supplied. Now, it makes reference to town districts and incorporated districts, and there's another statute, I think it's it's in Title 16, I think it's 421 or 422, that passes that, in essence, that responsibility for warning meetings to the legislative body of the municipality, i.e. the city council. 722. Okay, so anyway, although Joan originally at one point took this warning, put it into our annual city meeting warning, after these communications came through, it was pretty clear that needs to be separated. So the other warning that you have, this obviously would be the first time that the city council is signing a warning that relates to school business, for I don't know how many decades, but it is the only way that this vote or the ballot can get to our voters is through this warning approved by the city council.
Questions from the council? Joe?
Just, I wondered if we needed a motion to.
We will, yes, let's take a motion. Joe?
I'll move that we had this warning.
Okay, do I have a second? Lowell seconds. Open for discussion.
So now this is the first time that we have to sign this, where before it was the Vergennes ID or?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Or they would, had the Vergennes ID still been in existence, this would not be on the table.
Okay.
And this in no way says that you are in favor or against
This
the
is just to
motion.
put it to the voters,
Yeah.
so they have a right to vote.
Right, they have, if you were to deny it, you were denying their right to vote
Correct.
on the issue.
So in other words, regardless, we'll have to sign this, period. I mean, there is no choice. I mean, if you're right, the voters have a
You-
right to vote. I mean, I feel that way.
Yeah, yeah. As Mel and I discussed at one point, yes, we're getting it rammed down our throat,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
Don't get me wrong, everybody knows, a few people know where I stand, but the law is, it don't work out
Yes, because I'm here for the
the
city of
bugs.
Vergennes and the voters, and they have a right to vote. So
That's
that's
right.
why I'm gonna sign this.
Let it win or fail on its own merit.
Thank you.
Yep. So, I have a motion, second. Any other further discussion? Comments from the council? That's clarified. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you for the audience being patient with me on that one. You may.
I just want to thank you for your service and your time. I've had a really long day. This is why I came, so I gotta go home.
I'd
Thank you.
also like to thank Mel for putting as much time as he had into this. It wasn't an easy issue to figure out, and Mel certainly put in the extra mile, as we all have become a lot more familiar with the Vermont Education Law Book. And I do appreciate the fact that there's a distinction between personal opinion and allowing the residents of Vergennes to make this decision. I appreciate your professionalism.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Go to item number C, zoning map amendment. 2 minutes.
The planning commission received an email from Craig and Kathy Newton, who own the property at 70 Meggs Road. Just to let you know specifically what that property is, as you head out of town, go through the underpass and head towards Route 7 and turn right onto Meggs Road and re-enter the city of Vergennes. There is a driveway gravel driveway that leads down to Feed Commodities. Craig Newton used to own Feed Commodities. And then after that driveway, there are 3 residences. The first one at 70 Meggs Road is owned by Craig and Kathy Newton. The second one, another residence owned by Harold Leach Jr. and his wife Helena. And then the third one is a residence that's it's actually held in trust, but it's occupied and owned, I'll say, by Stanley Huck. Craig converted the single-family residence to office use. The property is zoned, this, I'm colorblind, but this deepish purple or whatever, the pink purple thing here is in the industrial commercial district. It's been in that for quite some time. I think the area got changed to industrial, which accommodated the building that Country Home Products is in today. I think it was owned by the Ordway family, previously the Canzior farm over there. It may have been zoned residential or agricultural, but anyway, it all got changed to industrial, accommodated the, as I mentioned before, the building that Country Home Products is in. And what that did was immediately took those 3 residences and they became non-conforming uses. And when you have a non-conforming use, you can continue that non-conforming use, but the regulations hinder your ability to add on to those residences. You're just kind of frozen in time unless some industry comes along and buys your property and tears it down or whatever. So through all these years, those 3 residences have been non-conforming use. Craig, when he bought 70 Meggs Road, it was a single-family residence, put a major addition on converted it to office, associated with Feed Commodities, and built a pretty substantial addition to the building for office use. And then he sold Feed Commodities, and Feed Commodities ended up consolidating their office facilities and operation in Middlebury, and the building has been vacant other than some security person for the railroad who was staying there on occasion. It sat there vacant, and he's tried to sell it and has been unsuccessful in selling it for office use, and so he approached the planning commission to see if the planning commission would consider changing the zoning district on his property to residential / limited business district. To grab one piece of property and assign a district to it, that's what's many times referred to as spot zoning, in which, you know, I don't want to say that's illegal, but it certainly would clearly be easily challenged and successfully challenged in that regard. So what I recommended to the Planning Commission that if the Planning Commission would consider changing the Newton property to residential / limited business district, I recommended that they also include the Leach property and the Hutt property. And so the Planning Commission voted to proceed with a public hearing. They held that public hearing. I don't have the minutes to the the January 17th, but they held the Planning Commission held a special meeting last night, and those minutes are ready, are in front of you, and you can see that the Planning Commission voted to adopt, approve, and submit this to the City Council for its action. And the City Council, relative to zoning changes, the City Council is required to have a public hearing not less than 15 days nor more than 120 days from the time that this zoning change is submitted. So what I would recommend is that the City Council set February 22nd, I believe, is your normal meeting. We can get this warning out, you know, this week. It's already been done. So I'd recommend that that a public hearing for February 22nd be authorized.
Ask for a motion.
Make said motion.
Randy made the motion, Chris seconded it. Open for discussion. Ziggy?
Trying to look for that. Wasn't the Leach's thought that he eventually wanted to put a machine shop or something up there?
Yeah, the minutes indicate that, Zig, you know, he did come to the public hearing. He did voice that concern, or not that concern, or he just voiced that when he purchased the property, you know, one of the reasons why he purchased it was that it did have the potential to construct some kind of a machine shop. And he did come to the public hearing, and you know, I explained some of the problems with the property, you know, as a non-conforming use. And at the hearing, I believe his words were he was okay with the change.
Well,
you know,
because he brought up, it wasn't even like he said, I'm going to do that. He sort of said, I always thought I might do that. And so Jason Farrell it was a good idea to ask for clarification. He said, are you saying you would prefer we not do this, or that it's okay to do it? And he then clearly said it's okay to pursue it, because we felt that if one of the residents of the other properties came forward and said, we don't want this, then we really couldn't ask you then to move on it. So the one other, you know, couple that showed up came through and said, yes, we're okay with it. I got the sense it was like, I thought it would be nice, but okay, this is all right too. That's the way I came away from the feelings.
Okay, I guess why I'm asking, because I was in that particular one.
and you know, obviously, no different. You know, when the Planning Commission warned its hearing for January 17th, I sent letters to the 3 property owners, and I'll do the same, you know, for this, because I mean, any property owner could come and provide testimony to the City Council, and you end up making that decision.
I would just like to add one thing, which is like what Mel said about the spot zoning. I still personally have a little bit of a concern that 3 properties isn't much different than one, but we talked at length about this particular parcel of land is just weird and should probably have been considered when the plan was rewritten and the map was redrawn. And you know, we talked about why that hadn't been done, and it was just an oversight, really, on the part of the landowner, because he's been trying to sell it for years, as I understand, and just never thought to get involved in the zoning process and have something changed then. So this is almost like an oversight. I look at it as an amendment to something that was already done.
But wasn't it zoned that once? Because I sold that, it was a nursing home, Teresa Wright was running, but that was residential then, and then and so then it got switched to
You know, I don't have perfect recall. But one of the things, Zig, it's in in the industrial commercial district. And
Right.
obviously, we're, at the time that Teresa was there, she was working under our 1981 zoning regulations, not our 2006 zoning regulations. So my guess is that when Teresa owned it and wanted to convert it into a nursing home, because it was in the commercial district, there is this kind of a catch-all or wraparound feature, it's sometimes called, in the industrial district, where in the industrial district you had permitted uses, conditional uses, and then the last one said, and all those uses in the commercial district that are listed either permitted or conditionally use permitted. And so it made a nursing home to be an eligible application, all right? And that's really what the problem is with this property right now. A nursing home, we many times call it, we allow that to get to the gate, all right? And, somebody can put forth an application, for a nursing home that application would get in front of the Development Review Board. In the case of Craig, his plan is to, I can tell you, he's very open about this. His plan is to sell the property to his son Brent, and Brent would use the property for either a single or two-family dwelling. Those are the permitted uses if it was in residential, all right? Right now, that application can't get to the gate, all right, because residential is absolutely prohibited in the industrial/commercial district. So he can't even make an application to anybody, all right? So this would allow, if the zoning change went through, he would be able to make that application to me as zoning administrator, and I would be able to issue that permit.
Okay. Because there's 3 other houses there already, 2 other ones, right?
Right.
So, yeah. All right.
Other comments, questions? If there aren't any, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. I don't believe there's any other, anything else to come before the committee tonight, council, I mean. Next meeting is February 8th, 2011, and it should be here in at the fire station. We hope. We hope.
Yeah, nice and warm here.
Lowell, will you do us the honors?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
Second.
Randy seconds it?
I was hoping Chris would. Is this gonna be your last?
No,
Nope.
she's got 2 more.
Actually,
Oh, okay.
actually, I am going to ask you to do that on the 28th of February.
Yes. We gotta do that.
We are adjourned.